डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Namaskar friends, I Dr. Jaini Shah welcome you to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University's video lecture. Friends, today we are going to learn unit number 9, that is Literature and Other Arts, which is a part of FYBA English paper number 1, that is Introduction to Literature. Friends, in this session we are going to learn about literature, other arts, relationship between literature and other arts, and the purpose of this relationship. Friends, let us begin with literature. Literature is something that has profound human significance, as it is inspired out of life and also it grows out of life. Friends, when we read great books, we come closer to life and the understanding of human nature. Literature is related to, or it is interlinked with, society, culture, history, psychology, other arts, etc. So friends, let us begin first by understanding what exactly is literature. Literature, in its most general meaning, is any body of written works. The word's Latin root, which is litera, it means letter or handwritten. This word is used to refer to all written or printed accounts. Now, any written or printed materials include newspapers, magazines, instruction manuals, pamphlets, brochures, dictionaries, encyclopedias, also books on science, medicine, mathematics, etc. But friends, these are not considered to be literature. So now the question comes, what is literature? So we come to a more specific meaning that the word literature has acquired over a period of time. Friends, literature now is considered to be a written work of artistic, superior or lasting merit. Friends, Merriam-Webster dictionary defines it as writings having excellence of form or expression and expressing ideas of permanent or universal interest is called literature. So now, as you know friends, that various forms or shapes in which literature is written actually are novels, novella, short story, drama, poetry, etc. These are the major forms. When these writings express the ideas of permanent or universal interests having universal appeal, for example, love, hope, joy, the concept of good versus evil, and many more, is what we call literature. Producing literature of permanent and universal value is an aesthetic exercise, and hence it is considered as a form of art. Friends, literature is considered an art which involves creativity, hence it is one of the various art forms. Further, to have clarity regarding what is literature, let us take a look at the 4 elements which are integral to literature, and these elements are stated by W.H. Hudson in his 1913 work which is called An Introduction to the Study of Literature. These 4 elements that he has stated are intellectual, emotional, imaginative and technical. Now let us see what intellectual element means. Intellectual element is an element of thought which the writer expresses in his or her work. Friends, in literary writings, mostly an idea or a particular thought predominates the entire work. That is considered its intellectual element. Next in line is emotional element. Friends, literature is often a result of emotional upsurge, or we can also call it emotional outcome. For example, consider a definition given by William Wordsworth when he defined romantic poetry. He said that romantic poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions. This forms the second element, that is the emotional element of literature. Now the third in number is element of imagination. Friends, as you know, literature is not just factual, but it is fictitious and imaginative. So imagination is a strong source of producing creative literature. Creative writers are often stirred, they are moved by intense vision, and through their writings they arouse similar vision, similar thoughts in the minds of the readers also. The final and the most important element of literature is its technical element. This is related to the craftsmanship of, it means craftsmanship and organization of thought, feelings and imagination. Friends, this element is connected, it has to deal with the narration, style, language, literary devices, meters and other intrinsic elements of work of art, that is literature. Since literature is an artistic and creative process, it is considered as an art form. So, literature is an art. So, friends, this was a basic idea of what is literature. Now, let us understand what is art. Friends, art is an expression or application of human creativity, skill and imagination, which is typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture. Friends, the purpose of any art, the general purpose of any art is basically to create works that can be appreciated and admired primarily for their beauty or emotional power. It includes various branches of creative activity such as painting, music, literature, dance, etc. There are three major components in which arts and art forms are divided. Literature, as we have talked about, literature is an art. This component includes drama, poetry and prose. Another component is performing arts, which includes dance, music and theatre. And the third component is of visual arts, which includes drawing, painting, filmmaking, architecture, ceramics, pottery, sculpting and photography. These forms of art are the branches of learning and are tools responsible for arousing sentiments, aspirations or opinions of the audience. Now friends, since we have understood what is literature and what is art, let us proceed further to know about the relationship that exists between the literature and other art forms. Now, we shall be talking of the combination of literature and arts. As established earlier, literature in itself is an art form. If we try to put these concepts in black and white, literature is carefully chosen words that paint visuals upon a page for the theatre of the mind. Let us understand what it means. Here, carefully chosen words mean that the written or literary text. The phrase paint visuals upon a page means that when you read a book, you try to imagine the events or happenings that are narrated in it, and they create images in your mind since you visualize them. And the phrase, the final phrase, for the theatre of the mind, means that while reading the text, you try to understand the meanings and interpret them with your cognitive agencies, that is, you apply your mind to it. For example, let us take the famous poem Stopping by the Woods by Robert Frost. There are certain lines, for example, my little horse stops between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. Friends, when you read or listen to these lines, there is a certain image or a certain visualization that is created in your mind. So, when you imagine a horse by reading these lines, you imagine a horse in your mind, you imagine a dense and dark forest, you imagine a snowy evening, also a frozen lake. So, this particular concept has often inspired many artists to create visual objects based on mental images that literature produces in one's mind. Because when you read the words, you imagine them, you imagine the happenings that are narrated. Now, let me put it in a more simpler form. Friends, dramas are a form of literature which are primarily written with stage directions, setting, plot, characters, dialogues, etc. But the primary purpose of writing any drama is that it needs to be performed on the stage. Now, performing a drama on stage is a collaborative effort on the part of actors, directors and set designers who bring the written words to life. So, theatre is an art in which literature gets realized. For example, let us take Greek tragedies or plays written by Shakespeare. All these dramas have been performed on stages since centuries and they are still getting performed on the stage. Friends, Aristotle's Poetics also deals with the same concept. Further, the Bible has also inspired the paintings and sculptures of artists and painters like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. Further, as technology progresses, filmmakers are also able to take the written words into more fully realized form, that is the visual form, including movements, sound effects as well as special effects. So, some classic novels were adapted into movies which you might have watched, like The Godfather, Twilight, The Harry Potter, A Game of Thrones, etc. Friends, these were books first, as in they were written first in the form of books or novels, and later they were adapted into movies. So, these movies were made based on the books. Also, some best movies have been turned into books. For example, the screenplay of a movie called Home Alone was turned into a book of the same name, as well as Independence Day. This novel was based on a movie. It was based on the screenplay of a movie of the same name, that is Independence Day. Architecture, friends, architecture also takes its inspiration from literature. For example, the Museum of Innocence. This building is in Turkey. It is inspired by the novel of the same name, which is written by Orhan Pamuk, who is a Turkish novelist, whereas a building called El Casel is located in Barcelona, is inspired from Franz Kafka's novel The Castle. So there are various examples in which we see that literature and other arts are interlinked. Also, certain buildings or architecture have inspired authors of literary text, such as Thornfield Hall. It is famously portrayed in Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre. This building exists in North Yorkshire of UK, which inspired Bronte, and she incorporated the description of this building in her novel. Another example is the Gold Coast mansions that are described in F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel The Great Gatsby. It was actually a description of the Oheka Castle, which was built by a German American architect. So these are the various examples. Friends, now further let us also consider Kathak in this light. Kathak is an Indian classical dance which depicts the Indian epics through hand movements, footwork and facial expressions, which it incorporates the childhood stories and the other stories of Lord Krishna. Bharatnatyam also, for example, is a form of dance which narrates mythical legends and spiritual ideas which are taken from the Hindu mythological texts. Now friends, when we talk about this interlinked, intertwined, shared relationship that exists between literature and other arts, a term called ekphrasis is often used. Let us focus on this concept now. The word ekphrasis has Greek origin, which means description. It is a vivid, dramatic, verbal description of a work of art, and it is often used as a literary device. Friends, ekphrasis is used as a device in which one medium of art tries to relate to another medium of art by defining and describing its essence and form, so that it can be related more directly to the audience. A critic, Eugenil Robillard, considers ekphrasis as textualized images, whereas Peter Wagner describes ekphrasis as a term for inter-art studies. Friends, an ekpharistic text creates the image by means of a narrative. It creates the image by using narrative. It uses artistic language when trying to put any painting, sculpture or architecture into words. Friends, there was an imagism movement in English poetry which favored precision of imagery and clear, sharp language. This will help us understand the term called ekphrasis in a better manner. A pioneer of this imagism movement, Ezra Pound, he has written a treatise that is called ABC of Reading, which was published in 1934. He writes about three fundamental categories to account for all poetic processes. These processes are also crucial to the term called ekphrasis. Pound mentioned about melopeia, phenopia and logopia. Friends, melopeia refers to the acoustic dimension of the verbal arts. Acoustics is related to the musicality and rhythm of any art. Phenopia, on the other hand, refers to the imagetic dimension, that is, mental images or visualization that literature can evoke in the minds of the readers. Whereas logopia refers to the linguistic dimension, that is, verbal, logical and linguistic impact on the literature or arts. These elements are interrelated to literature and other arts as well. Friends, an ekpharistic poetry flourished in Romantic era and also again during the pre-Raphaelite poetry. Let us now consider certain examples of ekphrasis which will give you a more clear idea of what actually is this concept. William Shakespeare, friends, in his work called The Rape of Lucrece, he writes a 200-line description of the Greek army which is based on a painting of the same. Whereas John Keats, in his poem Ode on Grecian Urn, friends, this entire poem is nothing but a description of a piece of pottery which is a vase. On the other hand, Fyodor Dostoevsky, he employed ekphrasis explicitly in his novel The Idiot. Also, Herman Melville, he employs ekphrasis in his novel Moby Dick when the narrator describes a painting in the novel. So, there are a number of examples where literature and other arts are combined through ekphrasis. Now friends, let us see what are the purposes for using ekphrasis in teaching of literature and how it is important and why it is important. Friends, the motive behind using examples of ekphrasis to teach students, to teach literature to students is that once the connection between a literary text and any form of art is recognized, the students' emotional and intellectual engagement with the literary text is extended to new dimensions, to new boundaries. It may happen that a literary text may take a new or unthought of meaning or interpretation because another art form is also now incorporated in its support, and it may give you newer perspectives or ideas of the original work. Friends, further there is one more advantage, that the basic material now has two bases, that is linguistic and visual as well, which creates a stronger foundation for understanding, remembrance, internalization, because visuals always have greater impact on our minds. So friends, a combination of literature and other arts results in high order thinking skills. For example, you are able to remember better, so it enhances your remembering skills, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, internalizing, comparing, contrasting, as well as creating further. Before I conclude the session, I would also like to bring to light a dialogue exchange that happened between Socrates and Phaedrus. Socrates talks to Phaedrus about the relationship of literature to painting. So it so happens that there is a narration where, friends, Socrates says to Phaedrus thus, "You know, Phaedrus, that it is a strange thing about writing which makes it truly correspond to painting. The painter's products stand before us as though they were alive. But if you ask, if you question them, they maintain a most majestic silence. It is the same with written words. They seem to talk to you as if they were intelligent. But if you ask them anything about what they say from a desire to be instructed, they go on telling you just the same thing forever." So friends, the paintings, if they are complex, it is difficult to analyze or understand the creation in its fullest sense. Obviously, you can only admire its beauty. The same is the case with the text, literary text. When generally you try to understand a written text, it is difficult to think of the untold or newer interpretations or perspectives. As a result, it may happen that painting and literature based on each other may fulfill the white or blank spaces for the audience. It may help audience or readers. So, this is how literature and painting, or literature and any other art form, share a corresponding relationship with each other. Friends, kindly take this exercise to check your progress regarding this topic, and you may try to answer these to check your further progress. So friends, learners, I hope this session has helped in making the concept easier for you. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye until next time.